Hello team, welcome to my session on Coffee with Prab, and today we're going to discuss some interview questions of network and cybersecurity. These are the frequent questions asked in the interview, so that's why I thought I will make a video on same. I'm planning to launch more videos on a similar topic, so if you're new to my channel, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss my future video on a similar topic. So my name is Prab Nair. For more information, you can refer my LinkedIn profile. So without wasting a time, let's start with the first part. Normally when we're going for a network security and cybersecurity jobs, even for the network engineering and all that, the companies or HR always start the question with the basics because they just want to know whether you know the basics. So I thought I will also start this session with the basic topic. So normally they will ask the question called what is topology and how many type of topologies we have. So when you're talking about the topology is like a layout of the network. Okay, whenever we basically build a network, before that we design the layout of the network, which give me the idea about how the data is communicate in the network. Normally when you construct any house, before constructing a house, you design the layout of the house, right? Which give you visibility about, okay, how many rooms, how many sofa, TV we need in the house. Same like we will basically design the network diagram. In other words, it is called as a topology, which give me the visibility about how the data communicates in the network. And the same topology will be used throughout the life cycle of the network. Sometimes what happens, network engineers, network administrator use the network layout only. Based on that, they try to troubleshoot the network. That is why network topology is the base for any network. So if you give such kind of a statements, if you start your answer with this kind of a parameter, it basically increase the confidence also. An interviewer will get the visibility, yes, this person has a knowledge on that area. So topology is nothing, it is all about the layout of the network. So we have a different type of topology. So first is called as a bus topology. So in the case of bus topology, what happens is we have one cable and all the systems are basically connected with the cable. So we have a system A, we have a system B, we have a system C, and we have a system D. So A want to send data to C, A will send data via media. This is called media, and by which it deliver the data to C. If B want to send to D, B will send the data to media and media will send the data to D. So entire communication is happening through this media. But one thing is that if media is basically down or media is corrupt, then entire network get impacted. So that is what is called as a bus topology. So in a traditional scenario, we're using a coaxial cable to connect the systems. And that is where the bus topology is used. Second is basically called as a star topology. Star topology is all about where the devices are connected with the centralized device. So we have a system A, we have a system B, we have a system C. And here we have a device called switch. So A, B, C. So A want to send data to switch. A want to send data to C, A will send the data to switch, and switch will send the data to C. So all the communication mechanism happening through this device. If this device is basically down, everything is basically down. Third is basically called as a mesh topology. In the case of mesh topology, we have a system A and we have a system B. So one system is directly connect with another system. Now we have a system C, C is directly connect with the B. C is directly connect with the A. Then we have a D system directly connect with the B, directly connect with the A, directly connect with the C. So we have a direct connectivity which offer better speed and less error. But if you increase more and more hosts, then there is a scalability issue. That is the most secure one actually, because one system is directly connect with another system. So from a security point of view, it's a great thing. But disadvantage is that if you add more and more hosts, then scalability is a issue. Next is called as a ring topology. Ring topology, we have a system A, okay, we have a system B, we have a system C, and we have a system D. So in the ring topology, we use the token ring. So this is basically the token we have. So A will basically grab the token, attach the data, and token is basically move in a clockwise. So D will basically grab the token, release the data, and then release the token. So that is basically called as a ring topology. And finally, we have a tree topology. In tree topology, it is a combination of bus and star. So we have a cable here, we have a system A, we have a system B, we have a system C, and we have a system D. Here we have a switch. Here we have a switch. and we have a systems which is connected with the switch. So this is basically my star topology and this is basically my bus topology. So combination of both is called as a tree topology. So topology is nothing, it is all about the layout of the network which give me the visibility about how the communication is take place from one system to other system. Okay, and how the systems are connected on the network. Let's move to the next interview question. Okay, so next interview question is, can you tell me the difference between the unicast, broadcast and multicast? See, when we say unicast is like one-to-one. Okay, and the best example is switch. Switch first time broadcast, so they can able to listen all the MAC address, and then it unicast, where it send the data from particular system A to particular system B. So suppose this is the switch we have. So when you switch on the switch first time, it basically discover the broadcast port, broadcast request in all the port, just to check how many hosts are connected with the switch. Now if A want to send data to B, A will send the data to switch. Switch is basically have a MAC table or CAM table which maintain the information about on which port what MAC address we have. So when switch receive the destination MAC address on that particular port only, it deliver the data. So that is basically called unicast, where one device send the data to a particular device, one-to-one communication. Second is basically called as a broadcast. Hub is a device which does the broadcast. So we have a hub here. We have a system A, we have a system B, and we have a system C. If A want to send data to C also, A send the data to hub will broadcast data to all the ports. It is same like you told your friend don't tell anyone, and he told everyone, and by telling them don't tell to others. So that is basically called as a broadcast. In the VoIP technology, in a group conferences, we use the multicast, which is called as a one-to-many. It is not to all, but one-to-many. So broadcast is basically all about a communication where one device on the network to another device on the network. Second is basically broadcast communication is from one device on the network to all device on the network. And multicast communication is from one device on the network to many, but not all device on the network. So one-to-one is unicast, one-to-many is basically multicast, and one-to-all is called as a broadcast. So this is the different kind of a information we have. So in the broadcast, the system also receive the data who is not interested in that. Same like when you're going for this broadcast sports and all that, right? So it is accessible to everyone. You want to see that, you can see that, but it will be available to you. So these are the different type of cast we have. Okay. Now next question, which is normally asked in network interview jobs, network security jobs, is what is firewall? See, firewall is a device. It is a solution which is used to protect, okay, your enterprise from the external threats. Okay, so let's take example is, this is your enterprise network. This is my enterprise network. Okay, we have some host in the enterprise network. Is it clear? So now what happened is we install the firewall here. Example. We install the firewall. So what is the role of firewall? Firewall basically ensure only legitimate traffic comes to the enterprise network. Okay. All that what you call non-threatening traffic, okay, can allow to the enterprise network. So firewall work in a similar fashion that we have a security guards in the organization. We inform the security guard that, okay, these are the list of people which is allowed. Apart from that, if you find anyone, ask them where you want to go. And if you find suspicious, block him. Same like in a firewall, we creating a rules. Whenever the packet is passed to the firewall, they will compare the rule with the packets. If it match and it say allow, it will allow. If match, it say deny, it will deny. So firewall is a preventative control which is used to protect my enterprise network, my internal network from the external adversaries or external threats. Okay. So we have a different type of firewall we'll discuss later. So here the firewall is a network security device or it's a solution. Actually, yes, we have a hardware device also, or we can have a software which can be installed in any system that monitor and filter the incoming and outgoing network traffic based on established policies. According to policy, firewall basically work. Now example, like we have a server. Okay, we have a web server. Just imagine web server listen all the requests on port number 80. So on the firewall, we created a rule that source is any, because it is difficult to track who's sending the data, and destination we given the web server IP. Then source port is any, and destination port we have given the 80. So if any traffic is going on the 80, the firewall will allow, because according to firewall, it is a legitimate traffic. But if any traffic is going on the 389 or it going on 121, firewall itself will block the packet. So by this way, it protecting my web server from the external attack. That's why it say firewall is essentially a barrier that sits between the private internal network and the public internet. And firewall main purpose is to allow the non-threatening traffic in and to keep the dangerous traffic out. So we have a different type of firewall team. Okay, so might be in some interviews, based on the definition what you give, they might ask the different type of firewall. So if you go by the standard, we have a 3 type of firewall. Okay, one is called as a packet filtering. Second is basically called as a stateful firewall. We also have a proxy firewall. Okay, so when you're talking about the proxy firewall, it's 2 type. One is called as a application level proxy, and one is basically called as a circuit level proxy. So we have a 2 type of proxy. Application level proxy work on the layer 7 and circuit level proxy work on the layer 5 of the OSI model. Okay. So we're going to discuss 2 major type of firewall here. Okay, in my next interview question. So what is packet filtering firewall? Packet filtering firewall is typically like a router, and also that has a capability to filter the packet based on a packet size, protocol used, source and destination IP address. So that is called as a packet filtering firewall. It works on the layer 3 of the OSI model. Example, like the router is the best example of the packet filtering firewall. Router. In router, we are creating a ACL. Like source is any, destination is basically web IP, source port is any, and destination port is 80. So this is basically the rule we have created. Okay, team? Simple rule we have created. Now we have a web server here. Okay, web server basically running on the IP called 1.1.1.1. Okay, and now we have a attacker. Okay, so what happened is attacker sending a traffic. So traffic first reaches the router. So when you're talking about the packet content, this is the packet content we have. Example, like we have a source IP, we have a destination IP, we have a source port, and we have a destination port. Along with that, we also have a content. Okay, so when the packet basically reach the router, this is the packet. Okay, this is called as a packet. When it reach router will basically check the source is any, because the traffic can be come from anywhere, right, in the internet. Anyone wish to access my website, so this is something we ignore. Destination is a web IP. Yes, the destination IP is mentioned is the same. Source port is any, destination port is 80. So router will basically allow the packet. So by this way, it will process the things. This kind of a device we install in the border of the network. The reason why I don't want too much filtering. Okay, just imagine we go to security checks in the airport. We can see the 2 level of security check. I'm talking about Indian airports, where the first level of security check is basically check your boarding pass and everything. And the next level of security check is basically all about your checking your baggage and everything. Now just imagine that second layer of security start from the main gate. You can see the huge queue outside of the airport. The same like in the organization, we install the basic configuration firewall on the border of the network, so by which we can able to filter the high level of traffic. And it will not impact the performance because we have a web server, we have a DNS server in the DMZ. Okay, so this kind of a things we install on the border of the network, so we can able to filter the high level traffic. But one challenge with this router based firewall is that it will not able to inspect what is the content. Might be is an attacker, he's sending the connection, he's establishing a connection on the legitimate port, but through that port he's trying to send some kind of an exploit. So that something cannot be inspected by the firewall. Second thing is that if web server need to reply back, okay, if web server need to reply back, for that also we need to manually create a rule in the router. Okay, for reverse traffic also we manually need to create a rule. So that is why it is called as a stateless firewall. It doesn't maintain any state. If any connection is basically established, it doesn't maintain any state. It take every packet as a new packet connection and analyze the parameter. So can you tell me what is stateful packet firewall? Stateful firewall is basically the one which maintain the information about the state team. Okay, example like this way. So we have a system A and this is my firewall. Okay, let me use a black one. And this is my web server. Okay, we created rule, source is any. Destination is basically a web server. Source port is any. And destination port is 80. Okay. So when the traffic is going to the firewall, they check the packet against the rule. If rule match, they basically maintain the state table. Okay. In a state table, they maintain the information about IP from which the connection is basically initiated. What is the source port 2020 and destination port is 2.1.1.1 port number 80. So that kind of a state table is maintained in the firewall. And then it reaches the web server. And web server, according to the traffic, it can reply back to the A. Manually, we don't need to create any rule in that because it dynamically create the reverse rule. Second is if there is an attacker. If you basically spoof a packet and send the next packet, they will analyze the packet against the rule set. If they discover this packet is not according to the state tables, they will simply drop the packet or recreate a new session. Because now every connection they maintain with the state table. Live example is they send the SYN packet. Now web server reply by SYNAC. So next packet firewall is expecting is the acknowledgement, but here the attacker spoof the AIP and send a new SYN packet. So firewall understood this packet does not belong to the existing state, and that is how they discard the packet. So thin line difference between the packet filtering firewall and stateful packet firewall is packet filtering firewall doesn't maintain any state, and for every traffic we need to manually create a rule. But in the stateful packet firewall, we need to create only the rule for one side. It automatically create a reverse rule because it maintain the state, it maintain the information about the connection. Okay, it work on the layer 3 and layer 4 of the OSI model. So stateful inspection, also known as a dynamic packet filtering, a technology that basically monitor the state of active connections and use this information to determine which network packet to allow through the firewall. Let's move to the next interview question. Okay, one of the most popular question which is asked in a network security jobs. What is IPsec? IP stand for Internet Protocol and SEC stand for security. Okay, so when we're going by the definition, IPsec basically stand for Internet Protocol Security Suite. That basically authenticate, encrypt packet of data to provide the secure encrypted communication between the two computers over the IP network. So example like we have a system A and we have a system B. Okay. Now I want to send data to B. A want to send data to B. So this is my data. Now I need to protect the data. Now protect doesn't mean that, okay, it is only confidentiality. Protect mean correctness of data. Protect mean data must be available. Protect mean protect against the unauthorized disclosure. So IPsec is the protocol suite which is used to protect the data packets. Okay, when we basically sending over the internet. Team clear? So that is why I say in this protocol suite, it offer the authentication and encryption, or we can say authenticity and encryption. How? We want to discuss. So if you get a question, what is IPsec? Just tell them it is a protocol suite which is used to protect the data packets when we basically transfer over the network. It is not only about confidentiality, it is also about the integrity and authenticity. Okay. So security is not limited to confidentiality. We need to ensure the data correctness should be there. We need to able to assure them data coming from the right source, and it must be available to only authorized user. So here they're talking about the authenticity and encrypt the packet. So IPsec works on the network layer. Okay. And it has a two protocol. One is basically called as a authentication header, and second is called as an encapsulation security payload. Let me explain you. So we have a system A and we have a system B. Now A want to give an assurance to B, this data comes from me only. Okay, it's not about the confidentiality, it is all about the authenticity, okay, and integrity. So this is the data we have created. Okay, this is the data we have created. So data was created at 9:53 a.m. That is a timestamp. So we generate the hash value of the data. That gives the assurance about the integrity. We generate one fixed value. Example, like when you order something like a product from a e-commerce, you receive a product with the seal, right? And they clearly mention if you receive the product with the broken seal, do not accept. Here also the seal is the integrity value. At 9:53, when data was with me, this is the integrity state value we have. And this integrity is encrypted with my symmetric key. Okay. This integrity hash value encrypt with my symmetric key and attach the AH header to the data. And then A send the data to B. When B receive the data, we attach the AH header. So when B received the data, he saw the AH header. From the AH header, he was able to verify the integrity and authenticity. Okay, how? Normally what happened, the hash is encrypted with the session key. If you see my cryptography video, you can see that. So there is a key by which they encrypt the hash, which form the DSV value, digital signature value, that is embedded with the AH header and attached with the data. We are not encrypting a data. We generating a hash of the data and encrypt that hash value with the session key, and that output will be embedded in the AH header. This key is basically with the A also, and this key is basically with the B also. When B receive the AH header attached with the data, they generate the hash, and then they decrypt the AH value with his same session key, and they found the hash. If both hashes match, it means the data came from a right source without any modification. And if we able to decrypt the hash with the same key, it already offers the authenticity. So if we able to decrypt successfully with the same key, it means we achieve the authenticity. We've compared the hash with the generated hash, and by this way achieve the integrity. So AH is primarily introduced for the integrity and authenticity, but anyone can able to intercept and able to read the data. So I will encrypt this entire state of data into new packet. So data AH will encrypt into new, and that is where the ESP come into the picture. So ESP basically offer the authentication plus integrity plus confidentiality. Okay, summary is that AH protocol is designed to authenticate the source host and also ensure the integrity of the payload carried in the IP packet. And the protocol use the hash function and the symmetric key to create a message digest, and the digest then is inserted into the authentication header. And then AH is then placed in the appropriate location based on the mode. So AH protocol does not provide privacy. It only provides the source, authentication, and data integrity. So IPsec works in a two-mode team, transport mode and tunnel mode. Transport mode, only the data is encrypted, whereas the tunnel mode, entire packet is encrypted. So a tunnel mode is basically more secure. Let's move to the next interview question. But before that, there is a one pointer I would like to add. IPsec use AES for the encryption, okay? AES, Advanced Encryption Standard. So most of the case they ask what is the thin line difference between the AH and ESP. AH offer integrity and authenticity, whereas the ESP offer complete the three. IPsec work in the two mode, transport mode and tunnel mode. Transport mode used by the user where the data is only encrypted. The tunnel mode is entire packet is encrypted, including your address and everything. Transport mode is also called as a end-to-end encryption. And tunnel mode is called as a link layer encryption. Okay. Now next question. Okay, can you please tell me about IDS? IDS basically stand for intrusion detection system. The solution primary objective is to detect the intrusion. What is intrusion? If someone try to penetrate into the network in an unauthorized manner. That is called as an intrusion. So it is a solution that is designed to detect unwanted attempts at accessing, manipulating, even disabling the network hardware and computer connected to the network. And IDS is basically two type: network-based IDS and host-based IDS. So network-based IDS mean this is my internet. Okay, here we install the NIDS. Then we have a switch. We have a system A, we have a system B, and we have a system C. In every system, we install the HIDS example. So now what happened? The traffic is passed through the NIDS. NIDS will check for the source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port. If it basically asks for the connection, they will allow the packet. They don't have authority to block, but yes, it look like a genuine traffic. And if it's basically something suspicious, they will basically log. But NIDS will not going to react anything. They just generate an alarm if the traffic is against the defined baseline. But NIDS can only capture from where it is coming to where it is going. What changes this packet introduced in every system? For that we install the HIDS. So that's why network-based IDS we install in the border of the network to monitor the network traffic from where the traffic comes to where the packet goes. And HIDS is something we install in every host. What is IPS? IPS is basically a solution that monitor the network or system activity for malicious or unwanted behavior and in real-time block. So thin line difference between the IDS and IPS is that IDS basically detect the intrusion. Okay, it work in the outline mode. And IPS is basically block the intrusion. It work in the inline mode. Inline mode, inline mode mean it will be remain between the systems. So if B is the web server and A is attacker, the solution is installed between them for the communication. So until unless this solution will not allow, the packet will not reach the B server. But in the case of IDS, it remain passive. It will just inspect the packet and check whether traffic is genuine or not. If not, it will log, but it will not block. So IPS is a preventive in nature and IDS is basically detective in nature. Okay. So question is, what are the different type of attacks detected by the IDS? So first is called as a reconnaissance. Reconnaissance attack means someone from the outside trying to gather information by sending some kind of a malware packets and all that. Like they want to understand what is the operating system they are running, what is the service they are running. So IDS can able to detect this pattern. Second is DOS attacks. Like if sending a multiple request, mass request and all that, IDS can able to identify this pattern. And based on that, it generate an alert. Or someone is trying to perform the any kind of a access parameter. So these are the different type of attacks will be detected by the IDS. Okay, can you tell me the different techniques hacker use to bypass the IDS? Yes, so we have a different type of technique. The first is called as a fragmentation. Fragmentation basically according to OSI happening on the network layer. So attacker basically evade the IPX and IDS by sending a fragment packet. What is a fragment packet is? Suppose we have a NIPS here. See, if I send you a direct signature, because sometimes what happen, IDS detect the attack based on a signatures. If I send you directly packet, they will check the signature of the packet and according to rule set, they will block the packet. So what happened now? We divide this packet into small packet. So actual sense of the traffic is gone. Actual sense of packet is gone because now the signature, attack signature is further divided into small packet. And by this way, I can able to pass the packet by the NIPS. Okay. So by fragmentation, where we're dividing a small packets. Okay. We can divide the small attacks, or we divide the entire attack packet or signature packet into small packets. And through that parameter, we can able to bypass by the NIPS. So NIPS will not able to detect that. So fragmentation is one technique we use. Second is basically called as a pattern change evasion. Pattern change evasion is basically where we use some kind of a polymorphic technique to create a unique attack pattern. Like every time whenever I'm sending a packet, whenever I'm sending the things, I will change the attack pattern, which is difficult for the NIPS to detect. That is why today we use a threat intel for that. Third is that some of the IP was blocked. So what I did, I spoofed some of the legitimate IP, and by that I will try to bypass the NIPS. That is called as a address spoofing. Example 1.1.1.1 is already blocked on the NIPS. So I know very well. So what I did, I basically use a random IP 2.1.1, which is part of a approved list. And through that, I will try to bypass the NIPS. Sometimes use encryption. So encryption is another technique we have that we use. So if you take example of encryption, we know very well there is a web server here and there is an attacker. So if attacker basically send the plain text data, NIPS can able to detect. So what happened is they creating an encrypted channel between the web server and attack. And then through that channel, they send the data. So in that case, NIPS, NIDS, HIDS, they will not able to inspect this data because they don't have a key. That's why we install the proxy broker to terminate the connection. So if you're using encrypted traffic and all that, in that case, it is difficult for the NIPS to detect what kind of a packet you are sending. And last is basically called as a low bandwidth attack. Low bandwidth attack, where the attacker use a technique that use low bandwidth or small amount of packet in order to evade the system. Okay, like they called as a stealth mode also. So these are the different kind of a techniques we basically use to bypass the IDS. Okay, can you please tell me about VPN? VPN stand for virtual private network. It is an encrypted connection over the internet from device to a network. So encrypt connection helps to ensure the sensitive data is safely transmitted. And it also prevent the unauthorized people from eavesdropping. Eavesdropping means sniffing on the traffic, and also allow the user to conduct work remotely. Now, if you take an example of COVID time where people are working from home. So we have a system A, we have a system B, we have a system C. So one employee working from India, one employee working from US, one employee working from UK, and all are basically connected with the internet. This is the internet. Problem is that if they're sending a data over the internet, anyone on the internet can able to intercept the data. Okay, this is your enterprise network. So what happened is we creating a virtual tunnel. You can imagine like that. So there is a virtual tunnel has been created, and through that tunnel, we transfer the data. So VPN is basically providing the virtual tunnel. Otherwise, if you send the data simply on the internet, anyone can intercept and access the data. So we need to create a virtual tunnel by which we need to send data in a secure manner. So that is why during a lockdown or people are working from home, they are using a VPN to connect with their enterprise. And by this way, they are able to pass the sensitive data through the channel. When you're talking about VPN, VPN is two type. Site-to-site VPN. Site-to-site VPN we have. And second is basically called as a remote access VPN. So difference is site to site mean we have a branches. So we have a branch 1, we have a branch 2. They basically connect with the internet and they connect with the enterprise. So we can able to extend the branch LAN network over the WAN to connect with the enterprise. That is called as a site to site. Remote access VPN mean we have a remote user in a multiple location, like this is the one. Different users using a VPN to connect with the enterprise. So VPN basically somehow play a very important role during a lockdown. So I was expecting that, okay, in the interview question, they will definitely ask the VPN. VPN basically support different type of protocol to establish the connection. They use PPTP, which is a Microsoft developed one, and second is called as a L2TP, and third is called as a SSL VPN. One of the cost effective, less administrative activities required in the SSL VPN. We don't require too much configuration, but in the PPTP, L2TP, we required some configuration. So there is a one dedicated video I made on VPN. You can check that. Okay. Let's move to the next interview question. So what is OSI model and what are the function of each layer? So in OSI, we have a 7 layers. Okay. Application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and physical layer. In 1969, when network was basically created, the ARPANET has been formed with the help of TCP/IP protocol suite. It is very important for us to understand how two computers are communicate with each other. And that is where the OSI come into the picture. So OSI was introduced as a reference model which give the visibility about how two computers are communicate with each other. That give the visibility about the type of device work on each layer. And by this way, we can able to troubleshoot. Okay, so that is basically called as a OSI model. Okay, but in 1972, we introduced another model to understand the TCP/IP, which is called TCP/IP model, which has a 4 layer. So moral of the story is that OSI has a 7 layers. which basically pass the data from source to destination. It was introduced with the objective how destination receives data, and it was introduced to understand the ARPA network TCP/IP protocol suite. In 1972, we introduced another model to understand how the two computers are communicate with each other. That is called as a TCP/IP protocol suite, TCP/IP model, where we have 4 layers. If you really want to know more about OSI model, you can check my video in the description box. So this is all from my side. If you find this video useful, do share your suggestions, do share your comments, and let me know what is the further video should I make on network security. And do share me the summary, what you have learned from this video. Thank you, goodbye, and make sure please subscribe to my YouTube channel.